Dan Towriss, CEO of Guggenheim Life. How are you?
Doing well, thanks.
Awesome. This comes together at breakneck speed. First of all, you know special events. You wanted to make sure that your hometown had a significant event. You had the financial means to do something, and you put this event together, the Women in Tech Championship, in record time. Basically, how'd you do it?
Well, we had a lot of great support in the community. I think the track has been tremendous, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That for me was really the linchpin in getting the deal done. The footprint that the track offers for a tournament to be more than just a golf tournament. For us, again, this was about a philanthropy effort. It's about our Women in Tech initiative, and the track really presented that perfect opportunity. So often a golf tournament is in a resort area, an outlying part of the community. Here we've got it in the heart of the city, in an urban setting with a tremendous footprint, with a tremendous history. It's a Pete course, and so for us, it couldn't be a more perfect combination.
Well, the assets certainly were a perfect combination, but the partnership with Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Indy 500, Mark Miles and his organization, pretty positive, pretty significant, isn't it?
Oh, it's been very significant. So Mark was great, Doug Bowles, Allison Millington, all the folks at the Speedway were just tremendous in putting this together, and in combination with the LPGA, similar thing on that side. Mike Wan and Ricky Lasky, all the folks at the LPGA were just tremendous as we looked to combine and really just be a team in going after this project, and that's really, that team effort is what helped it to come together so quickly.
And the idea of using the track, because let's face it, they are probably one of the biggest technology drivers in the entire state, if not in the country, and your inspired idea of workforce training, STEM, robotics, empowering women and girls for the first time. You're proud of that accomplishment. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so in working with former Mayor Ballard, as he said, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is the premier engineering facility in the state. And so to use that as a backdrop for a Women in Tech Championship, to promote STEM, to promote robotics, to promote career retraining for, again, to promote women in the workforce, it just all came together in a way that was really unprecedented.
So let's talk about the major event and its impact on the city. Obviously, Mayor Ballard, but the Super Bowl group that's more, the Indy Sports Corp, there's a real opportunity in a city like Indianapolis to make a statement on an annual basis. How important is this event, in your estimation, to the city of Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think it's very important. One, Indianapolis has a tradition for just opening up and being a tremendous location for big sporting events, and I think it's no different here. The way that the city, the way the community leaders, the women have come together to form the local organizing committee. You don't realize how daunting a task it is to organize a golf tournament without a club behind you, without volunteers, without all the folks that do that. And in this case, we had just people coming out of the woodwork to support because of what a successful sporting event means to the city and what this event means in supporting women in this location.
And the final piece is you have a significant number of the world's greatest female athletes really excited about coming to a new venue, but also participating in an event that's going to have a major impact on society, first locally and potentially nationally. How do you feel about all this?
Yeah, so again, with the LPGA, you have an international tour. The women are just tremendous role models. It's the way they interact with the fans, the way they interact with the community, the way they can carry a cause. And so again, they really connect with people in a deeper way than what you would typically expect for professional athletes coming in. And then when you take into account the fact that their outreach is on an international scale, it just really starts to open up a number of opportunities to bring that exposure and focus onto the Women in Tech initiative.
And the LPGA, as people understand more about it on a global scale, they realize it is a diverse organization with multi-talented individuals doing a whole lot of good things.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things we want to do for the LPGA Tour in this event is to help the community, help the fans really get to know the players on a deeper level, because they can really appreciate just how talented, how special, and how great of a role model each of these players are. And so I think one of the things we want to do is to, especially for the international players, is to introduce them into the community so that it feels again like an international tour from that standpoint, and that familiarity, that recognition will be there.
Finally, maybe most importantly, I understand and I know that your day job is international in scope, intergalactic in scope, but you are practicing pretty significantly. You don't understand that it's bad form if you win the Pro-Am in the event that you sponsor. Do you understand that?
I think it would be good for him in that sense. But I'm not counting on that happening, given my time in the office. But we'll see what happens.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're saving that comment. We're going to play that back for you in October and see if it's really true. Dan, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting dynamic over the next few weeks. It's a merger of golf and racing and more racing and more racing, but primarily racing and economic development. We're here at the unveiling of the Indy Women in Tech Championship car driven by Zach Veach. Zach, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and we're here to talk about so much more. First of all, take my hat off to you. You are, I don't know what it is Fountain of Youth was, but you're 22 going on 12. How did you do it?
That is the problem. I don't know. I guess really good or bad genes, if we want to talk about it that way. One thing I do when I'm out of a race car is I help out with the IndyCar two-seater where we give rides, and Mario Andretti is like the face of that program, and we'll always be out, giving rides, and Mario always introduces me as just turning 13. So that's something I've had to live with for a while, but hey, I'll appreciate it in like 20 years.
Yes, you will. And you're also not going to tell Mr. Andretti that he can't, right? He can do whatever he wants to when he introduces you.
Well, I think, that's part of paying your dues, right? Maybe in another 40 years I'll be able to do the same.
Well, but a meteoric rise through the world of racing, and first of all, it doesn't come cheap, and it doesn't come to the faint of heart. So kind of give us a snapshot of your early days, from your karting days to your F200, 2000 series and beyond. How did you get here?
Oh, it's something that didn't come as easy as I thought it would be when I was, 6 years old with this dream. But, it kind of goes back to my start as my father was a national champion of truck and tractor pulling, and I credit a lot of my success as just the way that I was raised and the parents that I had, because once he knew I was serious about this, for 9 years I begged that I wanted to race, and he won the World Finals and thought, well, he's serious about this, I'm going to quit my dream, which was what he thought about since he was a little boy, so I'd have an opportunity to chase mine. So my dad told me one thing that stuck with me my entire career, and it was, I'll work as hard as you do, and I'll take you to the track anytime you want to go. And anytime turned into every day, because I felt I got a late start and I wanted to push, and then I just learned that it's something that you get what you put in it. And I've just had that work ethic that my dad's taught me since opening his own company and starting my career.
Traditional school, traditional high school, traditional undergrad?
Traditional school up to 8th grade, and then I was missing something like 60 days a year, and my public school kind of frowned upon that. So I had to make the decision to go online and lose my friends in my community, but I gave that up so I could have this dream.
Now you make different friends.
Yeah, well,
Epiphany
sure.
moment. So sometime before 8th grade, you said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be all in, I'm going to do it well, I'm going to win. You take that dream. Your dad also helped in the business, obviously, but how do you turn that dream into a business reality?
It's got to be something that you think about every day of your life. It's the same with racing, that every morning when I get out of bed, I want to better myself, improve myself in this high competitive world of motorsports. And one side of that is the business side. And being a young kid, 22 years old, it's tough to step into the boardroom with people that have been doing business for 60 years and try to prove that you're effective in a way. And my way to help people is through the form of motorsports. So I've been very lucky up to this point, using a lot of outlets to kind of differ myself from the typical racing driver. I published my own book when I was 16. I helped with anti-texting while driving, anti-bullying, because I wanted to use racing as my stage to meet with people. And with the Indy Women in Tech Championship, it gives me another opportunity to help people, and that's something I'm really appreciative of.
Don't minimize the book that you wrote, this 99 Things Teens Knew Before Turning 16, and this anti-texting app, URTXT. I still text, it hit me in the head, and there are a lot of people who will do it, and it takes somebody with vision at an early age to say, don't do it. What motivated you to do that?
Well, unfortunately, my envision of that came because we had a traumatic experience in my hometown. I come from a small farm town of about 200 people, so when something affects one of us, it really affects us all. And I lost a close friend due to texting while driving, and I thought, I'm in this environment where a lot of kids look up to me. I'm driving, these race cars, so I should be, the focus point on good driving. So I thought that would be a perfect way for me to share my experience with kids about how dangerous texting while driving is, because if a driver going 240 miles an hour around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway doesn't text and drive, somebody who just got their license probably shouldn't either.
I think they both shouldn't. That's probably a good idea, ladies and gentlemen. But the interesting thing about that dynamic is that a lot of athletes who are role models, you hear it all over the place, will arrive and then they figure out how to give back, either because they're told to or because they want to. You're doing this at an early age before you've reached the pinnacle of your career. So kudos, and how important is it to continue that focus and make sure the charitable work continues?
It's only getting easier now that I've arrived per se to the highest level of motorsports in America. Because as a young guy, everybody dreams of being to the Verizon IndyCar Series, but it's so difficult to get there. Unfortunately, the sad thing is not all of us make it. So early on in my career, I didn't know how much time that I would have. I knew this is something I wanted to dedicate my life to, but there's a lot of factors that go in that drivers can't control that keep them out of the seat. And that's why I was encouraged to get my early start to do as much as I could while I could, and while I was relevant, I should say. And it's just only gotten bigger and bigger from here.
Well, and the story of how this all happened is an interesting one. Tell it from your perspective. So the Ford organization got a hold of Dan Towriss and Guggenheim, and the deal was put together in fairly short order, wasn't it?
I think
lightning speed.
It was one of the shortest deals done in Indy history, probably. For me, that was kind of the thing. It was a goal line for me. I knew I only had a few more days to make something happen, and I was so eager. Everybody around me knew how stressful of a time that was. I had about a week and a half, and I called a local friend of mine who's a pastor here in Indiana, and he passed along Dan's contact to me and thought this might be someone you'd like to speak with. And I actually sent Dan an email. He scheduled a call, and we kind of just hit it off, and things kind of snowballed to this point. But I knew I had a great organization behind me with Veach Racing, and just with Dan's establishment with Guggenheim and with Indy Women in Tech, it was just perfect timing for all of us. So I think I got the nudge from some other place to make this happen.
Well, whether you got the nudge from some other place or not, it is kismet, it's synergistic, it's whatever you want to call it. But you'll find Dan's incredible philanthropy, and obviously yours. You start early at giving back before you've arrived. So great things planned, right? You just got to do well on the track too.
Well, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely going to be extremely competitive, but I'm a driver. My place at home's in the cockpit of a race car, and it's 4 days and about 21 hours until we're on track here at Indy. So for me, that's when all of this gets calm and quiet for me, and I can get to go to work. But all this hard work has gone into the moment of the greatest race in the world, and I just think it's funny for my family now, because I was 4 years old and I told them that one day I was going to race in the Indianapolis 500, and they kind of laugh because they're like, sure, next week you want to be an astronaut or something else. And that vision just never changed for me, and I just made the commitment that I was going to do whatever it took to get here. And I was just lucky enough to find people like Dan, Indy Women in Tech, Guggenheim, and Veach for having me aboard.
It's a great story, and by the way, parents don't ever admit that they told you that they'd make fun of you. It was like, I've been there all the time.
Well,
so.
See, that's why I bring this out. But no, my family was extremely supportive, and they still are today. I think a lot of it goes down to the opportunities I was given as a kid, and my father's still my biggest role model and biggest supporter through all of this.
What do you say to the idiots that say race car drivers aren't athletes?
For me, the easiest way to express that to them is to give them a ride in a two-seater.
Yeah.
Because a lap around Indy, and they realize how difficult it is. And for me, it's no lie that I'm kind of a smaller guy. I say that I'm 6'4".
We propped him up on a couple of telephones.
Yeah, well, you guys don't need to see the below
right.
shot.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's something that I'm training every day for, because our cars are the most physical, demanding in the world. We don't have power steering. Anti-lock brakes. This is still the pure form of motorsports, where it comes down to what the driver can do with a race car. And quite honestly, I hope we never stray from that, because it makes it really difficult on me as a young guy coming into these heavy to drive cars. But that's just, I'm a workhorse when it comes to motorsports, and that's just another part of the piece that I got to get together. And luckily, St. Vincent's has prepared me to do that, and I feel ready to take on this task.
So the St. Vincent's piece of this, so you're mentally strong. Obviously, you wouldn't be here, but the physical part, you work out every day.
Work out, about 5 days a week. The Saturday and Sunday is kind of my own thing to do with cardio, but through us, you got to think that our heart rates in the car usually are 160 to 180 beats per minute. And a race on average is 2 hours to 3 hours long. So,
okay.
That's equivalent as a marathon runner basically doing his thing. So for us, not only do we have to handle the high heart rate, we have to handle the heat of being in a thick fire suit.
Right. And you can't move for how long?
Well, when you're making a seat, you're in the car for an hour and a half, or you got to sit there. But basically on the racetrack, yeah, you're in it for 2 to 3 hours, completely strapped down. The only thing that's moving is your legs, arms, and neck.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear that, okay? I really want you to hear that. And then the idea of going 200 miles an hour, and you're how close to another car that's going the same speed, but it's all relative, so it doesn't look like it.
Well, that's the thing. You know, people always ask me, what's it like going 230 miles an hour? And you know, it becomes relevant because the more you do it, your mind slows it down. And like you said, the other cars are going relatively 5 miles an hour within what you're doing. So it doesn't seem like you're going 200 miles an hour until something goes wrong. And a lot of the times it happens before you can even realize that, you know, something has gone wrong.
Yeah, you're a happy guy, you're a cheerful guy. Do you have any fears going into a race?
You know, my biggest fear is not what can happen to me in a race car. My biggest fear is not becoming what I've always wanted to be. And that's an Indianapolis 500 champion, a Verizon IndyCar Series champion. You know, I want to live my life to the fullest, and I want to accomplish the goals I've set out from an early age. And this is a great step to get to that. We saw a rookie win the Indy 500 last year, so that doesn't mean a rookie can't do it this year.
And by the way, I could add a few more questions, and then there's the normal gratuitous media training that people give. You don't need that.
Well, thank you. I
That was
appreciate
wonderful.
that.
Thank you.
Means a
Good
lot.
luck.